Growing up with Star Wars and having it there throughout different times in my life, different aspects or corners of it have occupied my thoughts as being, I don't know, important to me anyways. The franchise has definitely changed a lot since 2015 when The Force Awakens came out, and hell, it's even changed a lot since The Rise of Skywalker kicked off an unofficial hiatus from the big screen in 2019. What's interesting to me is not just how the state of new material changes over time, whatever the status quo of the franchise is, but also how your perceptions of pre-existing material change with time and following releases in TV and film in mind. The original trilogy had been completed for just over 2 decades when I was born, and Revenge of the Sith was still a year away. My initial experience with Star Wars was just the original trilogy on DVD, and then I distinctly remember finding a VHS copy of The Phantom Menace in some rundown West Virginia library, and that was the first time I ever saw one of the prequels, and I got the whole set on DVD not long after. I got fully into the Clone Wars TV show, and this was back when it was in its early seasons. I played my copy of Revenge of the Sith on DVD, like literally almost every day. It spent a good chunk of my childhood being my favorite movie. Hell, I even played the shit out of the PS2 game. And when I was 11, The Force Awakens came out, and I was young enough for it to make an impression on me, but old enough for it to feel like some sort of external addition to the Star Wars I grew up with. After absorbing so much Star Wars, and seeing the franchise settle into this endless barrage of nearly indistinguishable TV shows, and every movie announcement being the equivalent to vaporware, as well as the broader cultural discourse that's become associated with the franchise, I believe the act of watching and perceiving media within this franchise is distinctly disconnected from the actual rhythms and intentions behind these specific works. The prequel trilogy has had not one but 2 Clone Wars series, and all of its accompanying lore and emotional investment grafted onto it, just as the original trilogy had the prequels grafted onto it, and both of them saddled with the sequels and Rebels and yada yada yada. And this gets even bigger if you're into the games and the books. To a certain extent, I feel this has dulled our senses to the individual pieces of these movies, the little ticks of personality and characterization and filmmaking. And ultimately, what they are laying out as singular works rather than knowing what this or that was later turned into and how we felt about that. We take for granted the deliberate gaps in information and context that have since been filled in. This suffocates a large portion of the magic that was a part of this franchise, leaving most of the magic that anyone feels nowadays just strictly relating to familiarity with something you've seen before, rather than the vast and unknowable yet not entirely alien world the original trilogy showed us. And I do lament that I can't feel the wondering of imaginations at these movies anymore. I really do. Now, none of this makes these movies worse per se, but it is at the detriment of our experiences with them. Nowhere is this felt more than with the character of Yoda. Now let's stop here for a minute. Let's forget the prequels for a minute. Let's forget the sequels, the shows, the books, the games, all of it. In fact, this has been a long time coming. They don't exist no more. I'm gonna be so fucking mad if I try to put these up and the frames fuck up, because I have the cheapest frames imaginable. Getting them up the first time was a lot. What Star Wars Episode 5 The Empire Strikes Back is. It's a sequel to the biggest movie phenomenon made up to that point. Star Wars released to critical acclaim and armies of people lining up to see it again and again. A whole merchandising empire of toys springing up overnight to accompany this fun for all ages adventure in space. So with all the world watching, George Lucas, Lawrence Kasdan, Gary Kurtz, and director Irvin Kershner, and many more all worked to do something different. The Empire Strikes Back does this beautiful thing where it maintains the adventure and imaginative nature of Star Wars while logically progressing it into a darker, less black and white area. Even the visuals are moodier, with these beautifully crafted sets and incredibly detailed and atmospheric lighting from cinematographer Peter Sashinsky, whom I really wish worked on Return of the Jedi. And I really hope I said his name right. It's a knockout of a production through and through. It's weird to think about a time where Obi-Wan Kenobi was the de facto most powerful Jedi the audience knew. You know, the wise old man who's seemingly seen it all and has profound control over this strange power called the Force, something the villain Darth Vader is seen using too. When Obi-Wan allowed himself to be struck down and disappeared into nothingness, even gaining the ability to speak to Luke from beyond the grave, the imagination runs wild as to what the broader nature of the Force could be, that even Darth Vader seems confused at what the hell just happened. The Empire Strikes Back begins with Luke in peril. In the Wampa Cave, we see someone move something with the Force for the very first time. And at death's door, Obi-Wan Kenobi appears to Luke to tell him to go to the Dagobah system where he will learn from the Jedi Master Yoda, the one who trained him. Imagine the possibilities of what the great old master who trained old Ben Kenobi could be.
Like we're being watched.
This strange, obnoxious little green local. He claims to know Yoda and he tests Luke's patience at every turn, fully knowing he's the only talkative one Luke is gonna find, let alone his only lead to finding Yoda. The green guy mentions Luke's father, remarking on how he was a powerful Jedi. Luke questions this for a moment, and instead of locking in on what should be a huge piece of information that changes the way he sees the situation, it just sends him into further frustration and impatience. I don't even know what I'm
doing here. We're wasting our time.
And then the picture is made clear.
I cannot teach him. He is not ready.
Yoda.
Luke came looking for a great warrior, and suddenly the image of a Jedi Master has changed, and Luke's immaturity and impatience is clear as day.
Adventure. Excitement. A Jedi craves not these things. You are reckless.
Yoda goes on to inform Luke, and by extension the audience, that essentially, to become a Jedi, an individual of great wisdom and self-control and power, our hero must forgo the very reasons why we came to a movie like this in the first place. Communicating that an existence of pure discipline is rarely the most exciting one. We only get to have our Luke Skywalker adventures within the rest of this trilogy because at no point that we see him is he ever really ready. Luke tells Yoda he's not afraid of the path he's come into, to which Yoda replies,
You will be. You will be.
This ominous omen that telegraphs with Luke's determination to learn about the Force, he is also destined to learn the ways in which it can be corrupted and perverted. And that's precisely why it's so important we get our first look at Emperor Palpatine in this movie as this shadowy, seemingly deformed specter of darkness. It is unclear within the movie how long Luke spends training with Yoda, but even from the first scene of Luke running through the swamp with Yoda on his back, it's apparent that a transformation is taking place. His body, his endurance is being tested, becoming stronger, and through every step Yoda is telling him that it is not the Jedi's place to seek conflict and battle. And mind you, each time we cut to another lesson from Yoda, it's just after seeing Luke's friends narrowly escaping the Empire. The urgency and juxtaposition between these two sections, drug out over the middle half of the movie, is critical to why the movie works as seamlessly as it does.
Is the dark side stronger?
No. Quicker, easier, more seductive.
It goes on to clarify what's at stake, that the more you tap into your potential, the urge and opportunities to take shortcuts, to act unjustly for the sake of personal benefit or convenience spring up all around you, and your ability to take advantage of them grows. Luke is uncovering the depth of his abilities, but what makes it so compelling is that the movie chooses to illustrate this by centering the focus on the integrity and measurement of his own judgment. It is not necessarily good or bad morality, more so that just careless or unjust judgment is what enables harmful and destructive deeds, regardless of intention. It opens up a compelling dilemma to explore, that all of Luke's potential hinges on what's within himself, that his mind must be a conductor rather than a source of the power. It's all about him handling what's within himself.
I feel cold. Death.
That place. And you must go.
The cave, a place of allurement, coldness. The only thing in there is what you take with you.
Your weapons. You will not need them.
Luke does not heed Yoda's advice. He soldiers on in there, and for what? A fight? A discovery? This beautiful, dreamlike sequence plays out. His enemy appears and Luke strikes him down. Evil is vanquished, Ben Kenobi is avenged, and yet something isn't right. The fear doesn't leave. It's nothing but a mirror. Luke goes in armed, he has the enemy in mind, his heart looks to conflict, but the image of the enemy quickly falls, leaving only a reflection of himself. So much of Yoda's presence within this movie goes to show Luke and the audience that all of this is just a matter of perspective, a matter of your certain point of view and your overbearing preconceptions of what is. Yoda lifts a starship. He tells Luke that the only difference between the ship and a rock is in his mind. The Force is truly limitless, and not for the sake of a power fantasy, but for your consciousness of your place within the world you
Its
occupy.
energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter.
There are no questions or ambitions of power, there is no god complex or rewards of being special, simply embracing the interconnectivity and, in good faith, foregoing the illusions of our view and thoughts of the material world. That is a true portrayal of wisdom and the tools for heroism, as cosmic as they are practical.
But tell me why I can't.
No, there is no why.
The Jedi's path is something that simply is. As such, Yoda does not teach Luke to suppress or run from the darkness, but to go towards it and exist with it. That was the test of the cave. Only then can you stand tall in knowing yourself and your upright commitment to peace.
If you choose the quick and easy path, as Vader did, you will become an agent of evil.
At the end of his time with Yoda, as Luke senses the plight of his friends, of course he wants to run and help them. Yoda and Obi-Wan try to convince him that it's a doomed mission, not morally wrong, but Luke simply hasn't fully digested or come to terms with what he has learned, and he will be vulnerable in confronting Vader. There's undoubtedly nobility in Luke's selfless commitment to protecting his friends, but the recklessness of it is precisely why he leaves the movie beaten and shaken. While he's there, he literally accomplishes nothing but losing his own hand. A truly great hero is one that is measured, disciplined, and committed to passivity until no other choice is given. It's less a swashbuckler and more like a stoic. Behind Vader's "I am your father," Yoda's "do or do not, there is no try" is possibly the most iconic line of the trilogy. Do or do not, there is no try. In an undertaking, you either accomplish the thing or you don't. The conception of try is merely an additional filter we use to contextualize our actions, one that clouds it from the material causes and effects of our actions.
Always with you what cannot be done.
Throughout talking through this whole video, I, and maybe even you too, constantly thought or remembered things that happened in other Star Wars movies or media that contradict or muddy the waters of the story told here. I cannot help but think of how often we sacrifice the individual experiences of these stories as completed, singular works, their ability to surprise and incite meaning only for the sake of some larger canonical apparatus. The Empire Strikes Back is what a good sequel ought to do. It's a proper, deeper exploration of what the first movie established, following it further and logically expanding its implications over the characters and the audience's relationship with how they engage with the story. In a movie titled Star Wars, a character portrayed to be the wisest of them all says the line that encapsulates all of this.
Great warrior. Wars not make one great.
It does that rare thing where it deconstructs the role of our hero's journey while simultaneously delivering the goods of an excellent action-adventure movie. And that's where I'll leave it. Thank you so much for watching. This video kind of came out of nowhere on a whim, but if you liked it, subscribe, like, leave a comment, all the things people do on YouTube. And let me know how you feel about the question of the movies being sacrificed for the sake of their spot in canon or pop culture. Is that something that you feel is apparent, or do you think it's just overly complicating what should just be watch and enjoy the movie? But follow me on Letterboxd, follow me on Instagram. I post videos twice a month, so if you want to stick around for more stuff like this, it'd be greatly appreciated, and I will see you next time. Shit. Oh. Bullshit. Shit. Why? Why is this complicated? That's fine. Oh my god, this was not worth it at all. Oh my god. Forgive me.